Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's dealtohealteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.com. Again, that's dealtohealteas.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James. And on my podcast, my guest and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. All right. Welcome to the show. I am Ernest James.
And I'm Ervin James.
And this is the Earn Erv Podcast, where we're talking family, faith, and fatherhood, plus a little bit of foolishness mixed in between.
Our mission is to have the conversations that will change the community. It's our belief that a strong foundation is the building of a community.
All right. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Earn Erv Podcast. Make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share to our podcast on all of your social media platforms, as well as your podcast listening platforms. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to our new YouTube channel, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. That's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, which is our new YouTube channel, where you can also check out our partner podcast, which is the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. All right. So, Ervin, how you doing, dude? How you doing? What's going on today? How's your week?
Man, my week been all right. I had some sunny days, had some good weather. So, it's been all right. About yourself? What you been doing?
I've been good. Of course, today that we're recording is actually my birthday. So I am 48 years old today. And so I'm definitely excited about that. Thank the Lord for letting me see another year, making around the sun one more time. I guess that is around the sun, I guess. one more year around, right? One more year around. Definitely excited about that. So before we go any farther, we're gonna jump into our product of the week. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you guys amazing products for you guys to purchase, and that way we can pay our bills, right? And so our product of the week is our purpose journal and our purpose planner, right? The purpose journal and our purpose planner, because we believe that we all were put here for a purpose and on purpose. And therefore we need to journal. That way we can keep track of where we've been and where we are now, as well as plan for our future. And that's why you need to pick up your purpose journal as well as your purpose planner. The links is in the description below this audio or this video, whichever one that you're watching. They're both on Amazon, so you guys can go and check that out. As well as if you guys have ever thought about starting your own podcast, you can grab your copy of Start Your Podcast Now in only 3 steps, which is the ebook that I wrote for starting your own podcast. That is also down below in the descriptions. Or you can find it at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. And even if you go to the descriptions, you'll also be able to find some of the equipment that we use to do our podcast, what we started with, and then some of the stuff that we even use now for the podcast. So those of you that are thinking about starting your own podcast, you got a starter kit right down below. So check out that in the descriptions. So Erv, what's going on today, man? What are we talking about?
Well, see, our topic today that I want to talk about is the effects of social media on the family. I feel like that's a big topic that not too many people really dive into, that we should be addressing.
Okay, all right. So, well, kick us off then with the discussion. You said the effects of social media on the family. I definitely know that social media is like crazy now, because not just even on the kids, but even on the adults.
Yeah.
Because everywhere you go, you see everybody with their phone, and I think we all are guilty of it to some extent. You know. So, what do you want to start at with this conversation? Kick it off for me.
Well, for me, we've been spending so much time on social media that we starting to get away from what we call free time, real time. We dive into these things, we own it, we making calls, we making texts, and even for the kids, it got worse for the kids. I mean, I know we use it from time to time for business and so on and so forth, but for the youth, the young people, they've become so attached into it that their free time is social media time. Like even in school, they even have less recess. Like it used to be when we were young, we had recess, we had gym, we were active, proactive, we had games that we played. But these kids, they don't want to play, they don't want to run, but they be on them phones all day long, just texting, going back and forth, scrolling.
Yeah, and then I think that's a big effect that it's having. And just talking about how we were raised, and even to now. So we did have television, what I'm saying?
Right.
We did have TVs at that time, but even then, we still was limited then, not only for the amount of programs that we had, because they didn't have that many programs out. You had a limited amount of channels for one thing. Then it went off at a certain time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like, all right, 12 o'clock, you need to be in the bed. Everybody going to sleep. They play the national anthem and the TV go off, right? And then even outside of that, we had parents who would be like, all right, shut the TV off. You know what I mean? Even in the middle of the day, you're not watching it. We might be able to come home from school, watch a little bit of cartoons, when we come from school, but then it's like, all right, TV off. Go read a book, go outside, go do something. And a lot of it was going outside. And I think that's one of the biggest hindrance with our kids now and their social community, because we have social media, but they don't have actual social lives in real life. You know what I mean? Because they're stuck behind these screens, whether it's a phone screen or a computer screen, and not necessarily really engaging with one another the way that we did, the way that we had to, like you even mentioned, with at school, you had recess, you had gym, where you had to interact with each other.
Playing off the wall, playing tag.
Right. So we just, and they don't even have all that out now. And even like I think we were mentioning before, not only do they you got more screen time just for on your phone, but then all the schooling don't really have books no more.
They don't,
because now everything is on the laptop or whatever.
Tablets.
Yeah, and so that's even giving you more screen time. You know what I'm saying? Instead of less free time. And I think that's going to be in a couple of years, it's going to really start to show. It's already showing now in some things, but I think it's really going to start to show, even with your people mental state, and even with your eyes, your vision. I think we're going to start having a lot more vision problems and things like that from being in these screens all the time.
Yeah, the prices then went up on glasses. I didn't have to replace a couple of glasses for my kids And every time I turn around, it seems like they need a new pet. And I'm like, my goodness, what's going on? But I think it comes from all that screen time. You know, they don't get no free time when they come home. Like you said, they send in homework, but they sitting on the tablet. Ain't no books, ain't no reading. You know, everything is screen. So they go from the laptop to the cell phone to the TV, back to the cell phone. That even when they don't even play basketball outside no more, they play it on the video games. And the video games become so real. You know what I'm saying? You know, these games become so real, it's almost actually watching a basketball game. They got the moves, they got the words, the verbiage, everything. It's just so crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think not only that, you know, is that we kind of getting away from it, and it's affecting us with school, but it's also affecting inside the home, right? Because I, again, talking about how we grew up and even the time that we spent together, you know, just at dinner time, right? And being able to come to the table and everybody sit down the table, you know, and it may seem like, you know, way back in the days or whatever, but you know, that was what we did. We came together, we ate at the same time, you know, we ate at the table, you know, and sometimes mostly mom and dad didn't necessarily didn't eat with us because he always was working or something. But generally, we all was sitting at the table together. And now that's not even a thing because everybody's like getting their plate and going to their corner with their phones, you know, or going to their rooms and whatever. And we're not even having the social time as families as we used to, as far as just on a day-to-day basis, you
Yeah,
know.
some of them don't even take plates. Some of them be on the games and dinner time then came and went, and now it's 12 o'clock at night, and they coming there telling my mom and daddy, I'm hungry. We done had dinner, we done cleaned up, everybody done got in the bed, and now you decide to get off the electronics, and now you come in, you saying you hungry when it's time to go to sleep. So yeah, it's becoming a real big pandemic thing, you know, with this electronics. Like you said, they don't have conversations at the dinner tables no more. They take their plates. You know, even sometimes, you know, we used to do dinner in front of the TV. You know, everybody get their plates together. They sit down and watch a game or watch a movie together, but it's always conversation throughout the movie or the game. They don't even do that no more. They get their plate, they go to their own room, or they go, you know, sit down in the bottom area or in the basement or somewhere. So nobody's communicating with each other. Nobody's asking how the day went. And when you ask the kids even now, yeah, how was your day in school? It was fine. That's all they give you. It's like, so nothing happened. You know, when we come home, we had conversation. We was like, oh man, this happened or that happened. They don't have none of that. Like they desire for conversation is not even there unless their fingers is moving.
Right. So it's not even, it's more uh texting is not even a verbal conversation. And then what makes it so bad, and I think that's it's bad in a lot of ways. Number one, you can't really learn how to communicate correctly when you don't talk, right?
Yep.
And so you got the kids texting, then you want to speed text, and so you spelling words wrong on purpose because you hyphenate them. Well, then now you can't spell in real life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then you coming up with all these new words that you're making up that you're texting back and forth, you know, and it's just really going to, it's already, like I said, it's already showing itself in a lot of things, but I know within the next couple of years we're going to see even more the effects that this is having on our kids as they get older, and even as the next generation come in. Because I know I even had to talk to my son because my granddaughter, you know, that's especially these new kids. That's the whole thing. Is like, as soon as your kids get a little bit older, they shove a iPad in front of them.
Quickly.
You know what I mean? And that's the babysitter. Mm-hmm. You know, and then with the bad part of that, you're not even really monitoring what they're watching. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so now you give them this screen in order to basically let them raise themselves, and then you're not paying attention to what they're watching. And right now, everything is wide open. You know everything. What I mean? You mess around, put the wrong word in just by mistake, and you don't know what's going to come up. You know, and so I think you definitely have to be more aware with what we're doing with our kids, more aware with, you know, the information that we have, and we're giving them these like I said, social media, and not even just social media, but just anything behind these screens, period, with the technology. At some point, you got to take a break, right? Because I was even thinking, like I mentioned earlier, that is my birthday, and I was even thinking about going to one of they have one of the virtual reality things companies
Yeah,
around here.
yeah, I know what you're
And I was
talking
thinking
about.
about doing that. You put the glasses on or whatever, and and but even this conversation make me kind of rethink. I'm like, nah, I think I did enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah,
like,
believe
I
me.
don't even want to. I don't even want to put myself in there in that category, right? I did be going through all of that. But kind of going back to what we were saying a little earlier, um, about the effects that I know that it's having, and we even thinking about right now with the pressure of social media, the pressures of comparing, kids comparing themselves to these false realities that people are portraying on social media, or trying to live up to something that they saw on social media. Because now
Yeah,
these group of people or children or whoever it is, they behave like this or they live this kind of lifestyle, and this is what they say that's going on and what's the hot new thing. So now they're trying to react these things in their real life, and a lot of them is having is affecting them mentally
yeah,
because of that, right? Because of not being able to live up to these things, or even the things of thinking that some of this stuff is real that's really not even real, but you're looking at it and you're watching it and thinking that that's how these people really live, and so now you're trying to live that same type of way. And so I think we mentioned it before, probably off air when we was talking about it, like even the rise in suicides amongst our children,
yeah,
and a lot of it has to do with what they're exposed to, what they believe that their new reality really is, or this reality is, and then trying to live up to it. And then when they can't live up to it, and you're so engulfed in this screen of what someone else is presenting as saying that they're living up to, so now you're feeling inadequate because it feels like, well, everybody's doing it, and I'm not doing it, or I can't do it. And so now they're having mental issues where they're having mental breakdowns, and some of them even get to the point where they're committing suicide early at young ages because they feel like they're failures because they're constantly comparing themselves to what that they see on these screens that's not even necessarily true.
yeah, because they don't even know how to express themselves socially anymore. Everything is an emoji. You look at their text when they having conversations between friends, and it's like 3, 4, 5 different emojis, and you're asking like, well, what does this mean, or what does that mean? They have so many new emojis now that they don't even know how to verbally express themselves. And these emojis, sometimes I don't even understand what they are. They be confusing me. You look at it and it's a skull. So you're like, well, what is that? Or it's a bomb, or all these different things, and they're using it trying to express themselves. But then when you sit down and have a conversation with them, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to tell you how they feel and how their minds are being perplexed, or they're troubled by something that somebody said, or if they, are being bullied or any case like that. But when you see them on the phone, it's like they're going back and forth with their friends with all these different emojis. And it's crazy to think that that's what's going to control them to the point where they're not even verbal anymore. I had my children, sometimes they have their friends over, and the friends are sitting on the bed with them, and I walk in and they're texting each other, sitting right next to each other. And I'm like, that don't even make sense. Like, and they laugh and look at each other and look back at the phone like, what kind of world is this coming to that you can't even have a simple conversation with somebody that's sitting right next to you? You having a whole conversation by texting, or scrolling and looking at the same video on there, and then you don't even have a conversation about the video. You text each other about that too. So it's a growing thing, especially with the suicide stuff. It's it's making me wonder if the agenda is to make us less emotionally connected,
Yeah.
us more socially connected. It's a growing thing, and it makes me scared sometimes.
Yeah, and I definitely think we're whether we're doing it to ourselves or whether there's an agenda to do it, we're definitely being desensitized, right? And I remember that from years ago, myself having come into that realization that we're just being desensitized with what we're presented with, right? And I remember like
Right.
years ago when man, I think I was still a teenager when I don't know if you probably don't even remember this. There was a video back when we were still watching VHS tapes, right?
Hey, don't be
But
giving our age, man.
this how far it goes back though. But there was a series that came out called Faces of Death, right? And it was just a whole video series of people dying in different ways. Some people got shot, some people got hit by cars, and they were just showing like the actual footage of these people. And I remember seeing that, back then, or we had rented it. We had rented a video, and I remember putting the video in, and they showed like three scenes, and one of them was a crime scene. And by the time it got to like the third thing, and this, mind you, these videos were short, or these
Right.
clips were short, but by the time it got to the third person, or the third thing that happened to the third person, I was like, all right, I can't do it, and I took it out and I took it back to the store. I'm like, I can't even watch this, you know what I mean? But just as time went on, watching that other people that watched it, then once the internet came, and then now this whole time period that it was nothing but fight videos, and you're watching people fighting every day,
Yep.
and it just like, and then even now when things happen, people in accidents or fighting, the first thing people do is pull out their phone instead of trying to help,
Yeah.
and so yes, we are being desensitized on a daily basis because we're constantly bombarded with the media, what the media itself is feeding us, and then what we're feeding each other with
Yeah.
social media, and so yeah, like you said, it kind of worries me too, like what are we going to be looking like, or not necessarily us, because I'm 48 now, you know what I mean? So not necessarily us, but what is our children, what are their lives, and especially our grandchildren, what are their lives is going to be like, what is going to be their mental state, what are their day-to-day is actually going to look like, and how is they going to learn to communicate with each other, god forbid anything's to happen and they need to say something, you know what I mean,
Right.
and they don't even know how to communicate with one another.
Yeah, it's becoming to a point where everything that they do has to depend on whether or not it's going to go viral. Are they going to get famous? Are they going to be the next conversation that people are going to be having? You know, they start doing all these different challenges, and that's why all these kids, like you said, with the suicide stuff, they trying everything that looks like it's popular. That's what they're thriving to. If it look like it's going to be something that's going to go viral, they feel like they got to be a part. I don't want to be outside the circle, so I'm gonna try it. And a lot of them are losing their lives.
Yeah, so we got to lighten it up some before we get out of here. Definitely. But that's one good thing about social media, right? Or a couple good things. But one good thing about social media is that it gives us the opportunity to do what we're doing now. And that's to be able to do a podcast or do a video podcast where we can put out information or put out videos and stuff out into the world to kind of combat all the rest of the craziness that's going on right now. So again, to our listeners, we definitely want you guys to check out our new YouTube channel, um, which is the Deal to Heal podcasting network on YouTube, where you can find our podcast, the Earn Erv Podcast, as well as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast and the Girl Dare Discussions podcast. But we also have another podcast that is on there called Faith Walk and Love Talk with Gina Brooks podcast. It is a Bible study podcast, right? And she's doing big things. She already been doing it for 4 years now, going live on her own channel. And then so we worked with her to just kind of change it up a little bit, change the platform up or just the delivery, should I say, a little bit to put it in podcast form. And now she's doing big things with her podcast that can also be found on the new podcast channel, the Deal to Heal podcasting network. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Oh, excuse me. So Ervin, excuse me. Before we get out of here, I definitely want you to have the last word. I don't think I have any other. I don't think I have any other news or nothing right now. So that being said, I'll let you have the last word before we get out of here. What you going to leave us with?
Well, one thing I want to say is your communication is vital to the structure and building of your family. You got to have more verbal communication. You got to build up your children, build up your youth, build them all up with confidence, build them all up with encouragement, and spend more time together, because the more time you spend together, the better you stay together.
All right. And we can't end it no better than that. To the listeners, thank you guys once again for checking out or tuning in to the Earn Erv Podcast. I am Ernest James.
And I'm Ervin James.
And until next time and next week, you guys be blessed.